Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today on this episode, let's talk about a very frustrating situation that can happen anytime during the year, but definitely is very prevalent during early winter. And also, it starts in kind of September, goes throughout the fall, and is definitely something that you have to deal with in early winter time. So like November, December time period, when bass are really chasing around shad as the primary, food source. But one thing that really happens when fish get so hyper focused on eating shad is that they get so focused on that exact size, shape, and profile, and also color of those shad. So matching the hatch becomes a really big deal. So this is the scenario that I'm talking about. And on Lake Chickamauga, especially when I moved here, there's some lakes that you definitely don't have to be as careful, where you can use bigger baits than the shad that the fish are feeding on. But Lake Chickamauga, I started to notice, like, during this time of year, if you weren't throwing a tiny little bait at those bass that were busting on those threadfin shad in the backs of those creeks, or even on the main lake, you weren't going to get bit. Just flat out, you were not going to get bit. If you were throwing just a regular like jackhammer chatterbait or something like that, they just weren't going to touch it because they were so hyper focused on those smaller bait fish. So if you're seeing that situation, if you're in an area that has a bunch of like small shad, big schools, I'm talking about, millions of these shad in the backs of these creeks or something, and you see bass busting on those shad, but you can't get a bite, try some of these baits. So the first one I want to show you is really my all-time favorite bait for Lake Chickamauga and similar lakes, like Watts Bar has this phenomenon where you have to throw small bait or small presentations to imitate the bait fish and things like that. And really, there's lakes like this all around the country. It's just it's something that some lakes, like I said earlier, really are affected by. But one of my favorite presentations on Lake Chickamauga, I've probably caught more fish on this bait, and if you've watched my videos for any length of time, you've probably seen me talking about it. But I've caught more fish on this little swim bait, this is the Z-Man Minnows, than just about anything else. This is a 3-inch bait, okay, so very small, and is like the perfect profile to imitate the 2 3/4 and 3-inch shad that we have that are very prevalent in Lake Chickamauga. And this right here, I've rigged this one on the core tackle tush hook, okay? And the tush hook is very unique. I'll pull it out here. You can see it's got this hook, this weight that is distributed on the shank of the hook. It's got kind of that, like, I guess it's like a 60-degree line tie there. And you can pretty much just have a internally weighted swim bait with any soft plastic swim bait with this hook. But one of the best things about this hook, there's actually two things. The first thing is the action that it gives these swim baits, versus like it's just a regular jig head that protrudes off the front of the bait. It has much more of a rolling action. It's a little bit more erratic, so it'll just shake. It looks like it's a drunkard, going home after a bender. But it has a ton of action, a lot of like that hunting action. It's very unique, much more roll. The second thing it does is it eliminates that jig head on the front, which adds to the overall size profile of the bait. Before using the tush, I usually would cut down the minnows a little bit on the front because I knew that jig head was going to add another like 1/4 inch, to the bait, which believe it or not, impacted my bites greatly, my catch, amount greatly. Like I was not getting nearly as many bites with a swim bait that was, 3 1/4 inches versus one that with the jig head was just 3 inches. So That was something that I definitely experimented with, but with the tush, you don't have to worry about that because you don't have that extra jig head on the front. So this little swim bait is probably my favorite, my favorite wintertime bait for early winter, from fall all the way to like the end of December on Lake Chickamauga and, area lakes that the bass are chasing shad around up shallow. So that little sucker right there does wonders. But just in general, it doesn't have to be this exact swim bait. This is my favorite. But you can, just a smaller swim bait in general can be very, very effective. Another bait to think about is a smaller downsized chatterbait. This is the Z-Man Mini Max chatterbait. This is a very, very small one. I can cut this down to size, so I'll probably cut the skirt a little bit more. And I might put a small swim bait, like a cut down, I might cut like 3/4 of an inch or a 1/2 inch off of the minnows and put that as a trailer on the back, and just make it a really small profile chatterbait. You'll get way more bites with this Mini Max than a regular size jackhammer or Evo or original chatterbait, just because the profile is going to match the hatch a lot better. So I tend to switch over to the Mini Max during the winter time or anytime that I'm, presented with smaller bait fish overall. And then another bait that I really like to throw, especially in the backs of creeks and on these if you have like a big flat area where you're trying to just cover a lot of water and you got like schools of shad just meandering everywhere and bass busting on them, is a lipless crankbait. A lipless crankbait is a really good choice on those flats in the backs of these creeks, but more specifically, a very small lipless crankbait. Okay, this right here is a 1/4 ounce version. This is a Jackal a lipless crankbait. And all the products I'm talking about today are going to be in the description below. So I'm going to have the affiliate links down there. And that's actually a great way to support the channel. If you're going to go buy this tackle anyways, and you enjoy my content, consider using those links because it helps support the channel. So those will be below for all the products we talk about here. But a little lipless crankbait like this does a really good job. It's a really good search bait. It's one of the best search baits because you can cast it a mile and reel it back pretty quick, and it just gets a lot of strikes. It pulls fish to it because it has a lot of sound, and it has that nice tight action that the bait fish tend to have this time of year anyway. So very, very good imitation, both in the overall color and the profile, the action and all that. The sound, I wouldn't say it's realistic, but it's definitely a draw for this bait. Another bait, and this is kind of the final bait that I want to show you, is one that I've debated whether or not to talk about because a lot of people overlook this. It's a bait that really is considered a newbie or rookie bait. If you're new to fishing in general, no matter what species you're fishing for in freshwater, you tend to have a lot of these baits because it's just a popular beginner's choice. But a good old inline spinnerbait, or Rooster Tail, whatever you want to call it, is a really good option this time of year, believe it or not, because you're talking about a smaller bait that can cast a long distance, and it imitates those smaller bait fish better than most baits can. And that blade that these have, usually it's like a willow style blade, so willow leaf style blade, emits a lot of flash. Okay, not a ton of vibration, but a lot of flash. And that flash mixed with that small profile, you don't have to put a trailer on this. In fact, you don't put a trailer on it. You just fish it as is. It just catches a lot of fish. It's really crazy that more people don't throw little rooster tails like this when they're fishing for bass that are focused on small bait fish. Absolute killer and a timeless classic. So anyways, guys, I guess what I'm trying to get to, there's a lot of other baits out there that you can throw, but make sure that if you're finding a situation where bass are busting on bait fish in an area and you cannot by a bite. Super frustrating. It more than likely has to do with the size of the presentation that you're using. So try to match the hatch as closely as far as color and as far as size profile as possible. And that is going to get you more bites. I'm pretty positive about that. So anyways, guys, if you have any questions, drop a comment below. If you have a topic you want me to cover in a future video, I also would like to see that put in the comment section below. I love your suggestions, and I'm always looking for ideas for content. So anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. Use those product links in the description below if you're looking to buy this stuff, and it helps me out too. And other than that, I'm going to see you out in the water. Make sure you trust the process.